Anthony looks a little frustrated here. Look at him reeling.
Right hand by Joshua. He's landing punches. What is this?
My family, my beautiful fiance, Yuta. This sport has helped me so much in my life. I think my jaw is broken, by the way,
So here's what really went down with Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. The real exposure didn't happen when they actually fought. It happened way before that, during all those months when Jake was running his mouth. Throughout the end of 2024, this guy was acting like the outcome was already decided. Every interview, every podcast appearance, every press moment was just the same overconfident routine, repeated over and over. He kept saying he'd found weaknesses in Joshua's style and talked like he was about to embarrass the entire heavyweight division. Not just win, not just compete, but completely take over. He was selling this whole thing as his moment to prove he belonged at the top, which makes what actually happened look even more ridiculous.
I think he did what he had to do. He went out there, took his time, chased him down, unloaded and got the knockout. So it's what we were expecting. I thought it'd be earlier, but he got the job done. So congratulations to Joshua.
When 2025 rolled around, the fight finally went down as this massive Netflix spectacle. They marketed it as the biggest crossover event in influencer boxing history. Huge production value, celebrities packed everywhere. Cameras positioned to capture what they thought would be historic, but reality hit hard right from the opening bell. Anthony Joshua stepped in at around 250 pounds, while Jake came in near 200. We're talking about almost 50 pounds separating these two. That's not just a size difference you can overcome with heart and determination. That's legitimately dangerous territory. The betting markets understood this immediately, installing Joshua as a heavy favorite despite all of Jake's trash talk and bravado.
cardio, I think I could have kept it up and kept on fighting, but he did amazing. He hits really hard, and I just did my personal.
That overconfidence is exactly what made the ending so devastating to watch. Jake didn't just promise he'd survive or go the distance, he promised he would dominate. He promised he would expose Joshua as overrated. He promised he would shock the world. When you build expectations that high and then spend the entire fight just trying to make it to the final bell, the contrast becomes embarrassing. The way he framed the buildup mattered because he positioned this as definitive proof that he belonged with elite heavyweights. He tried to convince everyone that belief and confidence could replace years of experience and development. Once that first bell rang, the belief ran out fast and everything changed into something completely different from what he'd been advertising.
Any reaction?
So if you go past five rounds, it's a wrap.
Right from those opening exchanges, all that future champion talk just evaporated. Jake's entire strategy immediately became about movement and grabbing onto Joshua whenever possible. No standing his ground, no trading shots, just constant circling and clinching to buy himself time. All that knockout prediction disappeared within seconds. When you look at the actual numbers, it gets even worse. He was landing single-digit power shots per round. Single-digit. That's not applying pressure or being competitive. That's pure survival mode. Most of the fight was spent moving sideways and backwards, trying to stay away from any real exchanges.
Trying to stay untouched. Against Anthony Joshua, the weight difference was crazy. The skill difference was crazy. Look, Jake Paul was running a lot of that fight. But, you know, Anthony Joshua got it done. And he clocked Jake with a clean as fuck punch.
The thing is, Anthony Joshua recognized what was happening and just let it play out. He didn't rush forward, chasing a highlight reel knockout. He didn't get frustrated by all the movement and clinching. He simply stayed patient, measured distance, and controlled the pace. Even with Jake constantly running around the ring, Joshua won every single round that got completed. Not most of them. All of them. There was no debate from any of the judges. Meanwhile, Jake kept making the same basic mistake over and over, dropping his hands down to his sides while backing up. That's the kind of fundamental error that elite heavyweights will punish every single time. It kept happening round after round until the consequences finally caught up.
To the great Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul.
Hey, Gus.
By the time they reached the third round, the gap between them became impossible to ignore. You had influencer-level conditioning going up against elite heavyweight timing and precision. One guy burning through his energy reserves just to survive, while the other was conserving everything for the right moment to end it. Jake's movements started slowing down noticeably. The clinching became more desperate and frequent. Joshua's control over the fight became clearer with each passing minute. This wasn't competitive boxing anymore. This was patience slowly wearing down panic. The longer it continued, the worse it looked for the guy who had promised domination, but was delivering nothing except cardio management.
Paul's hands are down. Paul unwinds and catapult right hand to the left by Paul. Paul looking to make it a fight now.
Under the body with the right hand.
Then, everything Jake had built up finally came crashing down. The finish didn't come from some lucky punch or flash knockdown. It came after he'd already been dropped multiple times, with the referee finally stopping it in the 6th round. By that point, Jake was already completely worn down from trying to survive. The punch that ended it caused a jaw fracture, which meant immediate medical attention and intervention. That detail is important because this wasn't just superficial damage or a cut that looked worse than it was, this was structural damage to his face. All that bravado and confidence that had been used to sell the fight finally ran into the physical reality of heavyweight boxing.
It's definitely broke, but man, that was good. Nice little ass whooping from one of the best to ever do it, so I love this. I'm gonna come back and get a world championship belt at some point.
This was damage that had been building up over multiple rounds, not some sudden flash knockout that could be explained away. Anthony Joshua had been applying steady pressure throughout, controlling distance, and letting heavyweight physics do what it does. When you combine punch velocity with that kind of mass, you create a completely different level of force and impact. Jake Paul had never experienced anything close to that in any of his previous fights. Not against smaller opponents, not against older former champions, not against anyone from the influencer boxing circuit. This was heavyweight reality being delivered without any drama or theatrics.
There's the right hand. Jake Paul goes down again. Man, he's tired.
He needs to keep moving them feet like he was in the early rounds, but it's hard to do that.
Right uppercut. It's amazing that Paul is still standing.
The moment that final punch connected, you could feel the entire building change. The crowd didn't explode with excitement. Instead, everything went quiet. That silence told you everything you needed to know. The whole illusion had been shattered. The idea that confidence and self-belief could somehow shortcut years of experience and development collapsed in real time. The cameras captured shock instead of celebration. This was when all the talk and hype stopped mattering and only the damage remained. A global audience got to watch belief collide with physics and lose badly.
With the former two-time unified heavyweight champion?
Honestly, I'm not surprised. I just got tired, to be honest. Like, it was just so much handling his weight. I think if I could have had better cardio, I think I could have...
Jake Paul had talked his way into this exact moment. He promised he would expose Joshua and instead spent 6 rounds trying to survive. He promised domination and delivered constant movement and clinching. He promised to make history and delivered a fractured jaw in round 6. Every single statistic and metric told the same story. 50-pound weight difference, single-digit power punches, landed, lost every completed round. Multiple knockdowns, medical stoppage. That's not opinion or bias. That's the official record of what happened when reality finally showed up. Jake's biggest previous payday had been around $3 million, which was already massive by influencer standards. Jumping from that to 40 or 50 million isn't a step up in competition. It's jumping off a cliff. Financially massive, competitively reckless. The risk wasn't about winning belts or climbing rankings. It was about cashing out at the highest possible level before reality permanently closed the door on the whole illusion.
What are you going to do this 4 rounds? You've lost every single one of them. You've lost every single round.
When you actually examine their records, the contrast becomes embarrassing. Jake Paul walked into this fight with 13 professional bouts total. 13. Not a single one of them against an active heavyweight champion or anyone close to the level. No reigning belt holders, no Olympic medalists, no prime elite competition. Those 13 fights had been built carefully through size advantages, aging former names, and completely controlled matchmaking. That kind of resume doesn't prepare anyone for what came next. Anthony Joshua came from the complete opposite universe. Former two-time unified heavyweight champion with Olympic gold medal credentials. Victories over elite competition across multiple championship eras. This isn't hype or promotion. This is documented history.
Documented history.
He's never had a fight even remotely as dangerous as this. Jake Paul took a Anthony Joshua fight, and you know what? For what he did, it wasn't so bad. He landed a few clean punches, but it wasn't the clean, absolute knockout.
Joshua had spent years fighting men who hit harder than anything Jake had ever encountered or could even imagine. The experience gap wasn't narrow or something that could be overcome with heart. It was generational. No influencer boxing match before this had ever involved a reigning era heavyweight with Olympic pedigree, not even close to it. This was completely uncharted territory, and not in some heroic or inspiring way. It was uncharted because nobody with any sense had attempted it before. Jake crossed a line that existed for legitimate safety reasons, not just ego or politics. The numbers should have warned him. The records should have warned him. Basic physics should have warned him. He chose to ignore all of it.
Taking the right uppercut.
Best shot at the moment. Not that much is going to happen.
And it almost, oh, there's a left hook. Oh, the right hand. Down. Go.
Once the knockout happened, the internet reaction was immediate and brutal. Social media sentiment flipped within minutes of the stoppage. Clips were circulating everywhere, instantly across every platform. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, group chats, sports shows. Every single replay showed the same things over and over. The massive size difference, the speed gap, the panicked footwork, the complete mismatch. The narrative Jake had been selling collapsed frame by frame in high-definition video. Fighters and analysts, who had been tolerating the buildup, lost all patience once the actual footage started circulating. Months of trash talk looked absolutely ridiculous when replayed alongside clips of Jake running around, clinching constantly, and avoiding any real exchanges. The jokes and memes wrote themselves. Confidence doesn't age well when video evidence exists to fact-check every claim you made.
Oh! 6, 7, 8, 9.
You know, I give Jake Paul credit for stepping in there in the first place, going 6 rounds.
The so-called moral victory argument got laughed out of the room within minutes. Losing every single round before getting stopped doesn't qualify as success by any measure. It qualifies as survival, which wasn't what Jake had promised anyone. He had promised domination and exposure. When official scorecards show clean losses across the board, the gap becomes obvious to everyone. The memes focused on contrast, and contrast can be cruel. Pre-fight Jake shouting and smiling while predicting knockouts, compared to post-fight Jake sitting quietly with jaw damage while handlers explained bravery to reporters. Screenshots, edited compilations, side-by-side comparison. The internet loves that kind of symmetry, and this fight delivered it perfectly. Loud confidence, followed by loud silence. That contrast fueled days of mockery and reaction content. One phrase completely took over comment sections and reaction videos immediately. Levels to this. It became the unofficial summary of his entire night. Not just haters saying it, but actual fighters, analysts, and casual fans repeating it because the footage made it undeniable. There are levels in boxing, and Jake found his ceiling with his face. Anthony Joshua didn't just win a fight that night. He enforced a boundary. A hard line between influencer boxing and elite heavyweight reality. No speeches or call-outs needed, just controlled pressure and a medical stoppage. He reminded everyone that heavyweight boxing isn't a playground for confidence experiments. It's a profession built on damage and consequence.
Those people that says if this doesn't get past the first round, it's a loss for Anthony Joshua. He did what he was supposed to do, but we also give a little due credit now to Jake Paul.
Jake proved he had durability, and that's where any compliments have to end. Durability isn't greatness. It doesn't replace skill or experience or power. You can survive for a while and still be completely outclassed in every meaningful way. That's exactly what happened here. Staying upright for 6 rounds didn't rewrite any hierarchies or prove anything significant. This fight marked the absolute ceiling of influencer boxing, not because it failed commercially, but because anything beyond this level becomes genuinely unsafe. You cannot escalate further without risking serious permanent harm. When heavyweight mass meets influencer ambition, the result becomes predictable. The sport drew its own boundary through impact and injury, not through opinion or politics.
Spin them.
Joshua won. We all expected Joshua to win. The balls of Jake Paul. And if you watch his channel, you know for a fact I do not like Jake Paul. I don't know Logan Paul, Jake Paul, all the Pauls.
The lasting
Jake's ego walked into that fight inflated by money, cameras, and self-belief. It walked out fractured, just like his jaw, exposed by measurable facts that can't be argued with: weight difference, punch statistics, official scorecards, multiple knockdowns, medical stoppage. These aren't narratives or opinions, they're official records. You cannot debate them or spin them into something else. The lasting image won't be courage or heart. It will be the moment heavyweight boxing reminded everyone that confidence cannot bend physics, that belief doesn't cancel out mass, that marketing doesn't soften punches. This wasn't a lesson delivered gently or diplomatically. It was delivered clearly, loudly, and permanently in front of the entire world. That money figure matters because it explains everything that happened before and after. $40 to $50 million each reframes all the bravado instantly. When the paycheck is that large, you can afford to be wrong publicly. You can afford to lose loudly and embarrassingly. Jake didn't gamble his career that night. He cashed it in at the highest possible level. That context turns the whole bravery narrative into pure strategy. He accepted public humiliation as the cost of entry, then sat back while the internet argued about heart, while his bank transfers cleared. Even the reaction posts proved the point. Sympathy couldn't drown out the receipts. Every replay reinforced the same hierarchy. Every statistic stacked against the hype. This wasn't close or competitive. It was clear and definitive. The numbers closed any argument, and once numbers speak that loudly, ego has nothing left to say. That's exactly why this night will be referenced whenever influencer boxing tries to overreach again. Publicly, permanently, without apology or debate.